I accidentally ripped this 150-year-old Civil War document in half, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix it for just 15 cents. Items like this are often tri-folded for easy storage by the original owner. So when you fold it over 3 times and then you put it in a box and other things wear against those edges, it oftentimes makes them very, very weak. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have everything lined up properly. So you flip it over onto its back and you very, very carefully, and I'm using my centerline fold right here as a reference line as well as the edges. And then once you have it exactly where you think you want it to be, you pin that bad boy down with a couple of weights on either side. Now there are 3 rules whenever you're doing any restoration work whatsoever, and if you can't do those 3 things, you shouldn't be working on it. Number 1 is do no harm to the actual item itself. Number 2 is make sure that whatever you do can be reversed very, very easily. And thirdly, make sure you're not trying to hide it. It should be obvious that there was a repair, although not necessarily obtrusive. So now that I have this all lined up, I'm going to take out my Denison stamp hinges, and it's very important that you use Denison stamp hinges. And when you use a stamp hinge, all you have is one side, when you fold it out, that's gummed. You can see that it's just a little bit here. Let's get some tongs out. You can see that when I move it in the light that it's just a little bit shiny, and that is going to be your gum side. So you just need to moisten this side, and you don't have to drool on it. Just enough water to activate that gum, and then you line it up on your fold and just very gently press it down. Me personally, I like to make sure that when I do this, the crease of the actual hinge itself is running the opposite direction from what the tear is, because this way there's no chance that you're going to introduce a new unintentional crease based upon the stamp hinge itself. Now you don't need to apply a whole bunch of pressure in order to get these to stick. Let the gum do all of the work, and it takes just a few moments for it to dry. And since I already have it out, not only am I going to reattach the top half, I'm also going to put some reinforcement on that bottom crease because it's equally as weak as the top one and could rip at any moment. Now that we have a repair done, I'm going to show you why it's so important that you use Denison stamp hinges. This hinge right here is actually a hinge that I applied yesterday in order to be able to demonstrate exactly this. Denison stamp hinges are completely peelable. They leave no residue, and they don't do any harm to your items whatsoever. Now these Denison stamp hinges look old because these were actually produced in the 1980s and were discontinued at that point, and it's very important that you make sure and buy the 1980s vintage Denison stamp hinges. These stamp hinge packets will always have either a 25-cent or a 29-cent at the bottom corner of it, and they can generally be found on eBay for right around $25 a pack. All of the serious collectors I know use these hinges for this peelability and ensuring that they're not going to damage their items. At $25 for 1,000 hinges, I'm looking at 2.5 cents per hinge, and with 6 hinges on there, I just repaired a 150-year-old document for what is only going to be 15 cents.